In this video, I'll be sharing the story of a Korean horror film called Noise, which was released on September 7, 2024. The story begins in the middle of the night, where a young girl named Joo-hee was very angry about the noise coming from the room above. Determined to end it, she hurriedly begins attaching soundproof foam panels to her ceiling to reduce the noise. Just as she is about to finish, the disturbing noise erupts again, which is louder than before. Joo-hee grabs her camcorder and starts recording, planning to use the footage as proof when she confronts her upstairs neighbor. But before she can react further, a sudden unnatural noise comes from her balcony. At that moment, the intercom rings, but when Joo-hee answers, no one speaks from the other end of the line. Then, without warning, a loud noise comes from above, and the apartment is plunged into darkness as the light goes out. She got frightened and froze for a moment. Seconds later, the lights returned, but the noise from upstairs continued. She is unable to tolerate it anymore and decides to go upstairs to confront whoever is responsible. What she doesn't realize is that, at that very moment, a shadowy female figure is standing silently on her balcony, watching her. Suddenly, a strange grinding sound whispers directly into her ear. That same night, Joo-hee disappears without a single trace. In the next scene, Joo-young, who is the older sister of Joo-hee, is seen working in a loud manufacturing factory. All workers wear heavy headphones to protect their ears from the noise. Unlike the others, Joo-young works without headphones because she is deaf. A coworker calls out to her. By reading his lips, Joo-young understands that she has received a phone call from the police station. She inserts her hearing aids and checks her phone. The police inform her that her younger sister, Joo-hee, has not shown up in her office for 4 days. A detective asks if she knows where Joo-hee might be. Joo-young explains that now she has moved into her factory dormitory. So, she hasn't been in touch with her younger sister. Joo-young got worried and came to the apartment to check on her younger sister. She arrives at apartment 604, which is the place her younger sister, Joo-hee, had been living in. Joo-young sees a note taped on the door reminding the residents of apartment 604 not to make noise. Then she enters the passcode to unlock the door and enters the room. The room inside the apartment is in complete mess, with belongings thrown everywhere. So, Joo-young gets angry and immediately tries calling her younger sister, but the phone is switched off. As she looks around, memories flood back. She recalls the time she was in this room with her younger sister. Joo-hee constantly complained about strange sounds coming from the upstairs room. But whenever Joo-young listened, she heard nothing at all. She would tell her younger sister to calm down, insisting it was just normal apartment noise. She even reminded Joo-hee that since they had already bought the apartment, they had to learn to live with it. Now, Joo-young begins to suspect that her younger sister's disappearance may somehow be connected to those mysterious noises that are coming from the upstairs room. The next day, Joo-young visits Joo-hee's workplace. She meets a colleague of Joo-hee named Ki-hoon and asks if he noticed anything unusual before her younger sister vanished. Ki-hoon explained that whenever Joo-hee called him on the phone, she would repeatedly ask if he could hear strange noises in the background. However, he never heard anything unusual at all. Joo-young thanks him for the information and gives him her phone number, asking him to contact her if he remembers anything else. Later that evening, Joo-young returns to the apartment and finds Joo-hee's handbag lying inside with her phone still in it. The phone is switched off due to no battery. Hoping it may contain clues, she prepares to charge it. As she bends down to pick up the charging cable, she finds something wet and moldy on the floor. At that moment, a strange man appears outside the front door of the apartment. He asks if she is Joo-hee's elder sister. Without waiting for confirmation, he introduces himself as the resident of apartment 504, directly below them. He tells her to stop making noise, claiming the disturbance from their apartment is unbearable. But Joo-young explains that her younger sister is missing and that no one has lived in her apartment for several days. Therefore, the noise cannot be coming from them. But the man refuses to listen. He again warns her never to make noise again, and he left the place. After he left, Joo-young notices a shadowy female figure standing motionless at the end of the hallway. She got terrified and immediately locked the door. Inside the apartment, she attempts to unlock her younger sister's phone, but fails to guess the password. At that time, she saw their family photograph. As she looks at it, the scene shifts to a painful memory where a funeral is held at their home. Both sisters sit side by side, crying uncontrollably because their parents have died. The next day, Joo-young visits the apartment's security office and asks the security guard if he has seen Joo-hee recently. The guard recalls that Joo-hee once came to him and complained about strange noises. However, he admits he hasn't seen her for quite some time. Then the guard begins to mention a troubling incident that occurred years ago in apartment 604 of the building. Before he can explain further, a woman interrupts them, complaining about a foul smell coming from the basement. The security guard leads them to the basement and unlocks the door. The moment it opened, an overwhelmingly bad smell came out from the basement. He explains that for over 10 years, careless residents have been dumping garbage and unwanted items in the basement of the building. Then the woman who complains about the smells asks the security guard to arrange for someone to clean the basement. At that moment, the chairwoman of the residents committee arrives. She says that cleaning the basement would cost tens of thousands of dollars. Hearing this, the complaining woman left the place. After that, Ju Young turns back to the security guard, asking what he was about to tell her regarding the incident that occurred years ago in apartment 604. The chairwoman notices this and quickly tells the security guard to stop talking and return to his duties. Ju Young realized that she can't rely on anyone else. So she takes a few days leave from her work and moves back into apartment 604. Now she is determined to uncover the truth behind her younger sister's mysterious disappearance. After returning home, Ju Young once again finds warning notices taped on her door, accusing her of making noise. She enters the apartment, and while arranging clothes inside the wardrobe, she notices a small package, which turns out to be a birthday gift. This gift was a birthday gift Ju Hee had prepared in secret for her elder sister Ju Young. She opens it, and inside is a brand new pair of hearing aids, which also support Bluetooth connectivity. That very day is Ju Young's birthday. While she is looking at the cake on the table, an idea strikes her. She tries entering her birth date, which is 1010 as the password on Ju Hee's phone. When she enters 1010, the screen unlocks instantly. She scrolls through the call history and dials the last number Ju Hee contacted, but the line is busy. So, she sends a message, asking them to call back as soon as possible. Then she notices several saved voice recordings on Ju Hee's phone, and begins playing them one by one. After listening to 3 or 4 saved voices, suddenly, she starts to hear an unnatural noise. But she was confused because she's wearing her hearing aids. So, she can't tell whether the sound is coming from the upstairs room or from the phone itself. After that, Ju Young went to the bedroom and continued listening to the saved voice on Ju Hee's phone. In one recording, she hears what sounds like another person's voice, but it's distorted and very unclear. Suddenly, she hears Ju Hee's voice calling her name right beside her. So, Ju Young got terrified and threw the phone away. After that, she takes a bath and prepares to take a rest. But just as she lies down, someone starts knocking at the front door. This time, she hears her younger sister's voice clearly from outside, asking her to open the door. So, Ju Young rushes toward the door to open it, but at the last moment she stops. She softly asks, "Did you forget the passcode?" Strangely after that, the outside remains silent. Slowly, she looks through the peephole, only to find herself staring back by a black eye. At that moment, the horrible grinding sound returns, mixed with piercing noise that stabs into her ears. The noise overwhelms her senses until she collapses onto the floor. The next second, she wakes up from sleep, and it is morning. Later that day, the colleague, Ki-hoon, from Ju Hee's workplace, comes to visit Ju Young. While talking with a neighbor outside, Ju Young learned that Ki-hoon had actually been her younger sister, Ju Hee's boyfriend. Inside the apartment, Ju Young asks him if he is Ju Hee's boyfriend. Ki-hoon explains that they had only just started dating. He admits that he hasn't been able to contact Ju Hee for days and is deeply worried. Suddenly, Ju Hee's phone rings. It is the last caller of Ju Hee's phone that Ju Young messaged the night before. Together, they go to the local district office, where they meet the caller, who is actually a real estate broker who had sold apartment 604 to Ju Hee. The broker lady reveals that Ju Hee had contacted her recently, claiming she heard strange noises and saw a shadowy woman inside the apartment. When Ju Hee asked whether someone had died there before, the broker lady had been stunned. Because a year earlier, a young woman had lived in that same apartment 604. She constantly complained about strange noises, but one day, the complaints stopped. Days later, a terrible smell starts to come from apartment 604. When they entered the apartment, they found the girl had hanged herself. As Ju Young hears this, horrifying images flash through her mind. She imagines how she had meals beneath a decomposing body of the young girl hanging from the ceiling, but she never knew it was there. After that, Ju Young and Ki-hoon returned to apartment 604, only to find another warning paper stuck to the door, threatening them to stop making noise. Ki-hoon wanted to confront the downstairs neighbor, but Ju Young refused. Later, Ki-hoon begins preparing missing person posters for Joo-hee. Just then, Joo-young receives a call from the police. They inform her that CCTV footage shows her younger sister, Joo-hee, never leaving the apartment building. It means Joo-hee is still somewhere inside the building. Joo-young becomes convinced that the man from apartment 504 is responsible for her younger sister missing. So, she begs the police to investigate him. But police refused, saying without evidence they had no right to investigate him. Meanwhile, Ki-hoon made Joo-hee's missing person posters and prepared to leave. Suddenly, the doorbell rings, but it turns out to be the man from apartment 504. Ki-hoon opens the door while Joo-young hides behind the wall. The man looks through the narrow opening of the door, searching for Joo-young. He calmly tells Ki-hoon not to make noise inside the apartment, and then he walks away. When Joo-young comes out, Ki-hoon tells her never to open the door alone again, because he feels something hidden in the man's hand. Back at downstairs apartment 504, the man pulls out a hidden knife and presses it against the keypad, entering the passcode. It seems the endless noise from the floor above has driven him close to madness. That night, while placing missing person posters in the parking lot, Joo-young notices a small boy staring into the basement window. When she asks what he's looking at, he runs away. Joo-young got curious, and using her phone flashlight, she looked through the broken window. Suddenly, Jong-in, a resident from apartment 804, appears behind her. They sit together at the park, talking about Joo-hee's disappearance. Jong-in warns her not to spread missing posters around the complex because the residents' committee hates any rumors. As they talk, Joo-young notices a little girl playing alone on a swing nearby. Moments later, Jong-in left the place. When Joo-young looks again, the little girl playing on a swing is nowhere to be seen. Back in the apartment, while washing her face, Joo-young hears her younger sister's voice echoing through the water pipes. Suddenly, she hears someone press the passcode and open the door. Joo-young is shocked after seeing Joo-hee standing there. She rushes forward and hugs her younger sister tightly, crying as she asks where she has been all this time. While Joo-young is still speaking, Joo-hee suddenly walks into her bedroom and closes the door. Assuming her younger sister is simply upset, Joo-young follows and opens the door to continue the conversation. But she finds no one inside the bedroom. At that moment, a strange sound came from behind her. Slowly, she turns around and sees Joo-hee hanging from the ceiling. Joo-young screams and rushes forward, grabbing her younger sister's body and asking why she would do such a thing. Suddenly, Joo-young wakes up, and it turns out that it was just a nightmare. She feels horrified and walks to the kitchen to drink some water, trying to calm herself. But then she hears the strange unnatural noise coming from the balcony. It seems like a strange shadowy figure is standing outside the balcony. The shadowy figure slowly moves closer to the balcony window, growing darker with each step. Joo-young gets terrified and runs toward the front door, desperate to escape. At that moment, the man from downstairs apartment 504 knocked from outside the door. The sudden sound makes her very scared, and when she turns back toward the balcony, the shadowy figure has vanished. She grabbed a kitchen knife and walked onto the balcony, but there's no one there. After confirming there was no one, she checks the peephole of the front door and sees the man from downstairs apartment 504 has already left. Meanwhile, the man from apartment 504 hears the noise again from the floor above, which is louder than ever. By now, his mind has been completely driven mad by the noise. So he went to the above floor and started searching floor by floor for the origin of the noise. Suddenly, he notices something horrifying, which is a strange head of a male ghost looking from the corner of a doorway. At the same time, the motion sensor lights near him turn on, indicating that something is there. Then the ghostly male rushes toward him and scares him. The man screams in terror and runs down the corridor. In his panic, he crashes through the glass at the end of the hallway and falls to his death. The next day, Joo-young learns that the man from apartment 504 has died. She requests the police detective to search his apartment again for Joo-hee. However, the detective explains that apartment 504 has already been searched, but there is no sign that anyone was ever hidden there. As Joo-young argues with the police, the chairwoman of the residence committee approaches with several women. The chairwoman scolds Joo-young, accusing her of behaving just like her younger sister, who is obsessed with imaginary noises. She even claims that apartment 604 is cursed, saying everyone who has lived there eventually loses their mind. Hearing that Joo-young's determined to find out what happened at apartment 604, so she goes to visit Jong-in, who lived at apartment 804. While Jong-in prepares tea, Joo-young notices a photograph of a little girl with Jong-in. Moments later, she sees the same little girl running inside the room. Jonghyun explains that the little girl is her 8-year-old daughter. Then, she begins talking about the past before Ju-young moves into this building. She shows Ju-young an old group photo and points to a woman who once lived in apartment 704, directly beneath her apartment 804. She had also been the former chairwoman of the residence committee. She was extremely sensitive to noise and constantly complained about it. One day, he got so angry that she screamed and violently hit the ceiling with a pan. This made the man in apartment 604 below her apartment 704 completely go insane. So, one day the man from apartment 604 rushed to her place and attacked her with a hammer, and he left the room. But the woman didn't die immediately. In her final moments, she repeatedly knocked on the walls, desperately begging for help. A horrifying grinding sound also came from her mouth as she struggled to breathe. The neighbors heard everything but dismissed it as just another noise complaint. When her body was finally discovered, the residents chose to stay silent, afraid that the building's redevelopment plans would be cancelled if the truth came out. Ever since then, people have reported hearing her screams echoing through the building. Not long after her murder, the man from apartment 604 mysteriously vanished. Police searched everywhere, but he was never found. Ju-young asks who currently lives in apartment 704, since strange noises still seem to come from there every day. Jonghyun replied that apartment 704 has been empty ever since that woman was killed. Ju-young is stunned after hearing apartment 704 had been vacant for a long time. Then she returns to her apartment and finds a blank piece of paper stuck to the door. When she removes it, her younger sister's name, Ju-hee, has been carved into the door with a knife and smeared with blood. Until now, Ju-young believed the warnings came from the man in apartment 504. But now that he is dead, it means someone else is watching her. The next day, Ju-young distributes her younger sister's missing person posters throughout the complex. At the same time, a redevelopment meeting is being held. The chairwoman publicly expresses sympathy for the dead man from apartment 504. As Ju-young walks through the crowd, she sees her younger sister's missing posters crushed underfoot. After seeing the chairwoman talking only about the dead man from apartment 504 and not about her missing younger sister, Ju-young got angry. Then she grabs the microphone and shouts at the residents, accusing them of ignoring her missing younger sister, while talking only about the psychopath in apartment 504, who threatened her. The chairwoman rushes to stop her, but the two women start fighting and shouting until residents pull them apart. Still, Ju-young refuses to back down, screaming that her missing younger sister must still be somewhere inside the building complex. That's when Ki-hoon arrives and pulls her away. Later, Ju-young and Ki-hoon discuss the murder of the woman in apartment 704 and the killer from apartment 604. After digging deeper, Ki-hoon uncovers that the killer from apartment 604 never appeared on CCTV leaving the building. Just like Ju-hee mysteriously disappeared, the killer vanished without a trace. Hearing this, Ju-young suspects that the killer is still hiding somewhere inside the building. And if Ju-hee never escaped, then she must be kidnapped and hidden somewhere no one has searched yet. Ju-young suddenly thought the basement is the only place no one suspected or searched till now. So, Ju-young and Ki-hoon break the lock and enter the basement together. Then they begin searching the area. To save time, they decide to separate, each taking one path so they can cover the entire basement before nightfall. As Ju-young walks deeper into the shadows, she finds a drawing book lying on the ground. She opens it, and inside is a child's drawing depicting a car accident about her family in the past. The drawing shows a young version of Ju-hee playfully turning a steering wheel, while their parents sit in the front seats. The next page shows the car crashing violently. In that accident they lost their parents. While Ju-young lost her hearing, and Ju-hee was left with a permanently damaged leg. She closes the notebook out of fear, but when she opens it again, every page of the drawing book is blank. This shows after the accident, Ju-young sometimes hallucinates. Meanwhile, Ki-hoon records his search using a video camera. As he moves further inside, his flashlight lands on a body lying motionless on the floor. He takes out his phone and checks the killer from apartment 604, with the dead body lying there. He confirms that the dead body lying there is the killer from apartment 604. He cautiously approaches, trying to see if the man is still alive. Suddenly, a piercing, unbearable noise explodes in his ears. In the next instant, the corpse's head detaches and rolls towards Ki-hoon. Then the killer's spirit possesses Ki-hoon. A short while later, Ju-young came to meet with Ki-hoon. But without any warning, he rushed toward her and slammed her to the ground. Then he tried to kill her by strangling her. At that moment, Ju-young grabs a nearby stone from the ground and strikes him hard on the head. Ki-hoon collapses, giving her just enough time to escape. She runs blindly until she finds a basement window. She tries to get out through the basement window, but the broken glass cuts her skin. Suddenly, possessed Ki-hoon grabs her leg and pulls her back inside the basement. But at the last moment, a woman helps her by pulling her from the basement window, and everything goes black. When Ju-young opens her eyes, she finds herself inside a quiet office. Her wounds are wrapped in clean bandages. Nearby, a small boy is playing a video game. She calls out to him, but he doesn't respond. Moments later, the chairwoman of the residence committee enters the room. It turns out this is her office, and she is the one who rescued Ju-young from the basement. She explains that she has already contacted the police to search the basement after seeing how far Ju-young was willing to go for her missing younger sister. She then tells Ju-young that the boy is her son and he is deaf. Ju-young tells the chairwoman that the only children she has ever seen in this building complex are this boy and Jong-in's little daughter from apartment 804. Hearing that, the chairwoman freezes for a moment and reveals the truth. A few years ago, Jong-in's daughter was hit by a truck while playing outside, and the child died instantly on the spot. After knowing that, Ju-young is shocked because she clearly remembers seeing that little girl running inside apartment 804. Just then, Ju-young receives a call from the police. She rushes to the basement entrance, where police bring out a dead body. Her heart shatters when she realizes the dead body is Ki-hoon. The detective retrieves Ki-hoon's video camera and tells her that reviewing the footage will reveal exactly how he died. He warns Ju-young never to risk her life again in the name of searching for her missing sister. Before leaving, Ju-young asks about the secret iron door she saw in the basement. The detective looks confused and tells her there is no iron door and warns her again never to enter the basement. After the police left, Ju-young still felt that something was still wrong. She believed that her younger sister, Ju-hee, must be kept hidden behind that iron door of the basement. So, she once again went to the basement. While searching inside the basement, she discovers Ju-hee's broken camcorder. She connects it to her phone and plays the final video recording. The footage reveals Ju-hee entering apartment 804, saying she has finally discovered the source of the strange noises. Inside apartment 804, the room is filled with disturbing ritual objects lying on the floor. Strange vibrating machines are fixed to the walls, deliberately producing unnatural sounds throughout the building. The camera then captures something horrifying where Jong-in is seen speaking to her daughter's spirit, whose presence is invisible to anyone else. Realizing Jong-in has lost her sanity, Ju-hee tries to escape. But Jong-in suddenly attacks her and smashes a cup against her head. Then Jong-in looks at the camera, and the video ends. From this footage, it becomes clear that years ago, Jong-in's little daughter died in a tragic car accident. Unable to accept her daughter's loss, Jong-in used dark rituals to bind her daughter's spirit to the walls of the apartment building. So, the child's ghost became trapped there, making strange unnatural noises through the walls of the building, especially the rooms directly below apartment 804. This means unnatural noise mostly haunted apartments 704, 604 and 504, driving those residents living there to madness as they blamed one another. To silence them, Jong-in murdered some of them and left them to die slowly in the basement. Now Ju-young finally understood that the real killer behind every missing person in this building was Jong-in, who lived at apartment 804. After that, she heard a faint sound and followed it. At last, she finds Ju-hee tied up, barely conscious, in a corner. Ju-young quickly unties her younger sister, and together they attempt to escape from the basement. But Jong-in is already waiting at the basement exit. With a smile, she steps forward toward them, holding a hammer. Ju-young quickly shut the iron door and led her younger sister to hide safely. She then came face to face with Jong-in, but Jong-in tried to attack her using the hammer. So, Ju-young ran and hid herself behind a wall in another direction. Suddenly, she starts hearing an unbearable grinding noise mixed with a piercing sound. Unable to endure it, she removes her hearing aids. Then, she turns on her phone's speech recognition feature. At that moment, the phone screen fills with chaotic and unreadable text, suggesting that another spirit is haunting the basement. Before she can react, Jong-in appears and strikes her with the hammer. Ju-young collapses to the ground while Jong-in sits on top of Ju-young, raising the hammer to kill her. At that moment, Jong-in revealed that after the woman from apartment 704 complained about the noise, she allowed her little daughter to play outside the apartment. But that day, a delivery truck struck and killed her little daughter. Jong-in blamed the death of her daughter on the woman living at apartment 704. So she murdered the woman in revenge. After that she told Ju Young that she will kill her as well, just like her younger sister, Ju Hee. But Ju Young responds, saying that my younger sister Ju Hee is still alive. Hearing that, Jong In got confused for a moment. Suddenly, the strange grinding sounds start hearing from above the ceiling. Both Ju Young and Jong In are terrified to see the ghost of the woman from apartment 704 crawling on the ceiling above them. With a terrifying scream, the ghost attacks Jong In. Seizing the chance, Ju Young escapes through the iron door and tries to shut it. Jong In rushes after her, desperately begging for help. But Ju Young accidentally looked at the scary face of the ghost. She was so terrified that she chose not to save Jong In and closed the iron door. Inside, Jong In screams, and the ghost of the woman from apartment 704 kills her. Finally, her revenge is complete after killing Jong In. But just like the woman from apartment 704 once did when she begged for help, Jong In began knocking the iron door with her hands, trying to draw attention. After that, Ju Young starts searching for her younger sister, Ju Hee. Fortunately, Ju Hee is alive, and both hugged each other. Then they leave the basement together. 1 year later, a young girl came and knocked on the door of apartment 604. Ju Young opens the door, and the young girl introduces herself as the new resident of apartment 704. She asks Ju Young if she lives alone at apartment 604. Ju Young smiles and replies that she lives with her younger sister. She turns back and smiles at Ju Hee standing in the doorway. But when the young girl looks inside the room, she sees no one there. From this scene, we can understand that, just as Jong In, from apartment 804, believed her dead daughter was alive, Ju Young too imagines Ju Hee is still alive. But in reality, Ju Hee is already dead, and yet her spirit remains beside her elder sister, Ju Young. The young girl got a bit confused and gave Ju Young 2 gifts, and mentioned she had been hearing strange noises from upstairs. But the noises that they heard now are actually being created by the spirit of Jong In, knocking on the iron door of the basement, just like the woman who was killed in apartment 704 once did when she cried for help. Thus the cycle of haunting in this building continues, and with this, the movie comes to an end.